another thing to think about is, we're kind of on the cusp of full autonomy in driverless cars, right? So
are we though?
It's kind of around the corner. It's right there.
Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. If you want to see the full Franz interview, 2 hours long, it'll be linked below. Honestly, he's not the guy to divulge any new information. He did say that the Roadster is coming. Of course, the Cybertruck is coming, and just talked a lot about his career in the past, different companies, design, and a little bit about Tesla, but nothing really new. If you watched yesterday's video, you will remember I did cover this article from CNBC talking about Tesla installing 3,000 solar roofs cumulatively to date. That's wrong. Tesla Solar said this is incorrect by a large margin. Tesla put out a great explainer video going over the safety specifically when it comes to the frunk area and crumple zones, and how there are progressive zones as you get closer to the cabin of the vehicle to better protect the occupant. I'm not going to play the whole thing, just wanted to put it on your radar. It'll be linked below, and just know this is a great video to share with friends and family, because again, the #1 most overlooked story at Tesla is safety, in my opinion. Safest cars on the road. And I think that right there is the best argument for families to spend a couple extra bucks if it's in the realm of possibility, not so much the technology or all the other features, although cool. It sounds like this Elon trip to China may be real after all. The official date is unconfirmed, but the word is early April, as Elon is set to meet with China's premier, Li Qiang. It's been about 3 years since Elon has visited China, and we all remember him dancing on stage to celebrate the opening of Giga Shanghai. While we don't know if Elon's visit and this teaser from Tesla are related, Tesla is now talking about who is the protagonist this time, with a Cybervault, of course, in the Cybertruck font, and whatever this sheet covered thing is going to be. Maybe it's just an April Fool's box and it's actually something else that doesn't look like that at all. Who really knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Special form super power up, that's causing some people to think about charging, and we may hear more about this by April 3rd. All right, so with this one, we're going to play a quick game, and I have a prize for the winners. All you have to do, comment below your best guess for what the Cybervault will be, then screenshot that comment. So if it turns out you're right whenever they unveil it, send that screenshot to me via email, and I will have an award for any winners. In the event there are too many winners, I'm going to put all of you guys into a drawing, and then we'll narrow it down from there. I'm not going to provide any hints or clues, but I will say there are breadcrumbs out there. If you've been watching Electrified over the past few weeks and you pay close attention, some things should come to mind. But for now, my lips are sealed. One thing, the Weibo post itself did say cyber-enhanced balancing commuting and traveling. Gary Black shared the official Tesla Investor Relations compiled numbers for the production and delivery numbers this weekend. Tesla's IR compiled Q1 number 421.5 thousand. Gary Black remains at 424,000. And because Troy has not made his final update public yet, I'll just say for now it is indeed higher than Gary Black's. For the full year 2023, the IR compiled consensus is 1.83 million compared to Gary Black at 1.87. One thing that was interesting, the consensus right now is predicting 23% growth for Tesla from 2024 to 2025. This is supposed to be the time when the next gen Tesla is set to begin deliveries. If you're new to the channel, I don't do estimates. Enough people in the community already do it, and honestly, I really don't care that much whether they do 410,000 or 430,000. In the long run, doesn't mean anything. But of course, it's fun to track. I get it, and it's something to look forward to, so I'm definitely with you there. Tesla is recalling 35 of the semis for a problem with the parking brake. This is a majority of the fleet, and yes, it is a physical recall. Any semis built on or after March 14th are unaffected, so roughly the last 2 weeks. The electronic parking brake valve module on the affected vehicles might not move into the park position when the parking brake is activated. To fix this, Tesla will replace the parking brake valve module with a revised part. If there's a silver lining, it's definitely better now with 35 than later with 3,500. Again, Tesla is going to be very methodical with the rollout and the production ramp of the Tesla Semi because it is very different. Everything that I'm seeing confirms that Pepsi and Tesla still have a great relationship. They have plans to expand in the future, and I think Pepsi knew to expect some things like this, maybe not a physical recall, but some hiccups along the way as they test out this new fleet. There's a chance that all 35 of these semis are owned by Pepsi. We heard last year that they already had 36 of them on their way to their 100 order number. FSD Beta version 11.3.4 is now rolling out. Again, sounds like mostly bug fixes for now, but the hope is that this version can go to a wider audience, as it seems like there has been a slowdown in the rollout over the past few days. But again, the rollout is very fluid, so this can change hour to hour. Adam Jonas put out a 15-page report on the Tesla supercharging opportunity. It'll be linked below if you want to dive in. Just want to highlight a few facts. Right now, I think the biggest disconnect in the public market is still the fear or lack of infrastructure for charging your EV. But we have data from the Federal Highway Administration showing only around 5% of vehicle trips in the US are longer than 31 miles, meaning again, if they can charge at home, that's a viable option, or even at public level 2 chargers. Jonas talks about Tesla being the gas station company of the future. With Tesla's ability to innovate and solve the biggest challenges of charging, the option value could be higher than investors appreciate, aka people sleeping on Tesla opening up the supercharger network. Using Morgan Stanley's assumptions, they say Tesla's supercharging business would generate a 25% EBIT margin by 2030. This is coming from right now somewhere in the neighborhood of 0 or break even. And what does this mean? Well, they essentially value it at about $5 per share for Tesla stock. And say, although the fast charging business is not a major needle mover for Tesla, the side effects might be more profound than investors realize. This 25% profit margin would mainly be driven by continuous reductions in the hardware costs and software costs, in the prices of electricity hopefully coming down if Tesla implements more solar generation and battery storage. The Treasury did put out a press release going over the new IRA requirements, but it sounds like they didn't do that much over the past few months. Not much has changed. The price caps are still the same. Made in North America, still the same. When it comes to critical mineral requirements, for this year, it's still 40% and scales up from there. And then the other half of the requirement is the battery component. And for 2023, the percentage is 50% and will scale up in future years. Starting next year, an eligible clean EV may not contain any battery components that are made by a foreign entity of concern. Then in 2025, that same rule will apply for the critical minerals side. The only thing we're really learning is that vehicles placed in service on or after April 18th this year will be subject to the critical mineral and battery component requirements laid out in the rule. And on that date, fueleconomy.gov will have a list of eligible clean vehicles that qualified manufacturers have told the IRS are going to meet the requirements. Without seeing the list of vehicles that qualify or don't, I know it's going to be smaller than it was, but the hope is that over time, as the local supply chain is actually built out, then the number of vehicles qualifying for these credits will actually increase once the purpose of this bill is in action and established here in North America. Reuters is saying the Treasury is not immediately issuing guidance on foreign entities of concern. That's not defined yet. Honestly, I'll just say at this point, it seems like they really don't know exactly how they're going to play this out yet. There are still plenty of questions on how is this going to work for companies like CATL trying to set up shop with Ford and Tesla here in the United States. I say that because there's already legislation being introduced that would actually block these companies from using technology licensed from China for batteries. And the public is going to have until mid-June to comment, so things are still subject to change. The good news is it looks like the only thing that will change, at least in the short term for Tesla, is that, like we've been expecting, the Model 3 rear-wheel drive is not going to be eligible for the credits because the batteries come from China. However, if you're interested interested in this vehicle, again, you have until April 18th to pull it off. For now, I would just add, don't forget, we're still waiting on a long-range Model 3. We're still waiting on Project Highland. So Tesla has something in the works here, and I won't be surprised if they can find a way to have all of their vehicles qualify once they know what the rules actually are. That part is just pure speculation on my part. I'm not informed on that at all. In case you stumble across the article from Tesla Mag talking about the Tesla Works Council in Grünheide essentially demanding higher wages at Tesla than some competitors like BMW, I would just say tread lightly, because that article is all coming from Business Insider, and they've definitely had it out for Elon and Tesla in the past. GM is placing an interesting bet, set to phase out Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, instead opting for built-in infotainment systems developed with Google for future EVs. The first vehicle where GM will no longer offer those options, the 2024 Chevy Blazer. It sounds like this is GM pivoting to the directly installed infotainment system, so you don't need your phone to operate it, like Android Automotive, that, remember, is different than Android Auto. With the latter, you have an app on your Android phone, then you plug it into the car and you can then interface, but the functionality is pretty limited. Android Automotive, on the other hand, is what companies like Polestar are using in the Polestar 2, where it's built into the vehicle and gives you a lot more functionality. Plus, it can be more tightly integrated with certain vehicle features like navigation. The real reason nowadays typically has something to do with this. GM said, "We do believe there are subscription revenue opportunities for us." GM is expecting between $20 and $25 billion in annual revenue from subscriptions by 2030. Color me skeptical. GM is continuing to offer Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in their ICE lineup. This right here is pretty cool. We essentially have an open letter written by about 54 different consumer and environmental groups representing millions of people from 26 different countries, telling Toyota to figure it out. Speaking to the new CEO, they say, "You have the opportunity to change course on decades of harm and deceit caused by Toyota. In addition to Toyota's aggressive opposition to EVs, the company has cheated on emission testing, and executives have overstated the benefits of plug-in hybrids, as shown by research saying plug-in hybrids' real-world fuel consumption and carbon emissions are on average 3 to 5 times higher than expected." The letter is signed sincerely all of these different organizations, so the heat is on at Toyota. It's about time Waymo does this. They're retiring the fleet of Chrysler Pacifica hybrid minivans, and they're going to replace them with the Jaguar I-Pace. Waymo intends to maintain a national fleet of around 700 vehicles. Waymo also saying prototypes of the Zeekr vehicles are expected to begin testing by the end of this year. In case you haven't seen Waymo's rider-first vehicle, here it is. I wanted to have a shorter video today for you guys. Go enjoy your weekends, be safe, enjoy. Please like the video if you did. You can find me on Twitter at DylanLoomis22, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.